What's happening, everybody? This is RRPG here, and I'm here to present another 2 cents video on the 2 cents block to you all. For this impromptu topic, I want to discuss about Nintendo Directs and this negative backlash that Nintendo gets for doing them every 2 months. This is something that me and so many people have seen from a bunch who like to criticize the hell out of them for thinking that every one of them is like a mini E3. Whether if they are fans of Nintendo or not, it doesn't matter, as this has become quite an ongoing thing in the gaming community and even the press. Before getting started, I just want to say that I really do enjoy the Nintendo Directs for what they are, because they are unique and completely different from the norm of Nintendo's competitors with how they like to try and deliver information about said games and hardware from time to time at random, instead of doing something exciting to speak directly to gamers and their fans. I think they are fun to watch, as Nintendo likes to entertain people with their presentations, show gameplay footage of games, and try to leave a fantastic understanding about what and when to expect their content to release in the market. Nintendo doing these presentations is their different approach within the market because of how the economy is and how stagnant that developers and publishers have done the exact same thing for quite a while. To be honest, Sony has kind of taken notes from the Nintendo Directs with how they tried to be different with doing the PlayStation Experience back in December 2014, where they talked about games coming out on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, and even the PlayStation Vita. Yet, while Sony is getting this high amount of praise for something where they took inspiration from its competitor, Nintendo is still being criticized for what they normally do. First of all, I really don't know what it is that people who thrash at them toward the Nintendo Directs really want out of Nintendo. This idea where they think that every Nintendo Direct acting like a mini E3 is delusional, as they are not about dropping a ton of bombs with awesome sauce that these naysayers are expecting them to announce. It's not like that, as it is mostly about games that are about to come out later or down the road where they bring about newer information that we haven't even known about as of yet. Plus, there are at least a few surprises here and there, as they can make people not see that something they have been wanting is available right before their eyes. For example, who thought we would officially see Nintendo 64 and Nintendo DS games hit the Wii U Virtual Console right after the most recent Nintendo Direct? I didn't, as that really took me by surprise. How about Donkey Kong 64 finally getting a re-release through the Virtual Console? That caught me by surprise as well. What about the first official trailer for Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem? Who didn't see that for looking like what it currently is? How about Fatal Frame 5 now coming to both North America and Europe? You see, Nintendo Directs are about surprising us with current games that we already know about, while E3 is usually the place where we get the first glimpse of newer content that has not been announced. If you want that kind of thing, then wait until this June for E3 2015, as that is what you should be focusing on instead of just the Nintendo Directs, because that is where you are sorely mistaken on what they should be about. It's not about bringing about a new Metroid game or even a newer Zelda game from every Nintendo Direct, as that is being childish and foolish both at once. Like I said, a surprise like those games should wait until E3, and not a Nintendo Direct, as that would ruin the element of that surprise with how an E3 is supposed to be like. Granted, not every Nintendo Direct is going to be a hit, as there are some that are lackluster with one's delivery. For example, I thought that the Nintendo Direct from back in January was pretty lackluster, as some of the stuff regarding the new Nintendo 3DS XL only hitting North America, with no AC adapter in every package, was extremely questionable. Plus, the Majora's Mask new Nintendo 3DS XL not having the game pre-installed in the handheld was also a huge letdown. While there was some good here and there, it really wasn't a home run like some others that were actually more well-received, like the most recent Direct. Regardless, if they are bad or good, Nintendo still gets the shaft by many people who turn their backs on them because of them not meeting their expectations. I guess you could say that these types of people are expecting way too much out of them when it comes to this presentation, as they only want their Zelda and Metroid games. If you people have been living under a rock and not knowing what is coming for Metroid, Shigeru Miyamoto stated from E3 2014 that we should hear more information about the next entry at this year's E3, or sometime within 2015. I even talked about it last year. And remember now with Zelda U being officially delayed? What would happen if it did release in 2015 like Aonuma originally planned? The game would overshadow Star Fox, Yoshi's Woolly World, Mario Maker, Xenoblade Chronicles X, Fatal Frame 5, Splatoon, and possibly Devil's Third if that is still on track for a release as of this year. We got plenty of content coming from Nintendo for the Wii U and 3DS, as something like Mario, Mario Kart, Zelda, Smash Bros., and Metroid should not only be the primary focus, as that level of personal preference is very intolerable. If you only want those games on a Nintendo system and not the others that I mentioned, then that is messed up, as every Nintendo console shouldn't be primarily centered toward those games. I like them for what they are too, but I always have my eyes focused on other content that releases on the Wii U and 3DS, like the Wonderful 101 and Bayonetta 2, as I continue to go back and play them from time to time, and even try to finish up my own back catalog that I haven't even gotten around to doing so. Speaking of which, that is another thing I wanted to talk about. Droughts. Every time there's at least a 3-month gap between big releases on games, people like to claim that droughts are in effect for either video game platform, where Nintendo is given more of the critical thrashing from the naysayers. Okay, here's something you guys need to understand. Droughts are always going to occur for either Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft, as neither of them can always get a game out as fast as you want them to. This notion where you get your panties in a tight knot with them being very uncomfortable because there are not a whole lot of games for your specified platform, it's something that you're going to have to anticipate. Because of that, if you have a back catalog of games that you haven't completed as of right now, why are you always waiting for the release of the next big thing? Do you think you are going to finish it directly after it comes out? Probably not. That is why there are past games you can dig up and play once more just so you can actually have a chance to finish it up. For me, I have plenty of games I can go back and play while waiting on Splatoon or even Mario Maker or Yoshi's Woolly World. I have Tales of Grace's F, Tales of Exillia 1 and 2, and Tales of Symphonia Chronicles I can return and play on my PlayStation 3. When it comes to the Nintendo platforms, I can go back and play others like Fire Emblem Awakening, The Last Story, Xenoblade Chronicles, Pikmin 3, Hyrule Warriors with all the DLC, Majora's Mask 3D, or even a game like Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story on the DS, as that is a game I still haven't completed yet, ironically. Droughts are always going to occur whether you want them to or not, so it is always a good chance to go back and play some of the older games or even the classics if you really are that bored out of your mind. The Nintendo Directs giving estimated release dates on games was something that Nintendo has done since the days of Nintendo Power, and that is most likely not going to change, as a drought is most likely going to happen once more. Granted, I think it is somewhat disheartening that we don't know the exact date when a game is talked about far ahead of its launch date, but it is good to always prepare when they have one set in stone. If a delay happens, what can you do? Don't go crying on the internet because a drought is in effect for a particular platform, as there are other games that you haven't finished where you can go back and do so. In the end, this whole hate and hypocrisy coming from crybabies about the Nintendo Directs is disrespectful, arrogant, and truly biased. Nintendo does something what its competitors don't, and just because they do what they do will not mean that they are always going to be bad. It's like I went up to somebody with a bag full of cheeseburgers, and I tried to be friendly to them and offer them one for free. All of a sudden, that person will just thrash at me and tell me to F off and leave them alone. If that is how you think with the Nintendo Directs when they deliver on news when Sony and Microsoft have hardly done jack with pleasing people while you continue to hug their nuts out of obligation, then you really are messed up. Either lay off on your continuous mixing up of emotions to bring about your anger because something doesn't go your way, or respect Nintendo for actually trying to please you as a gamer. Are you a gamer or a crybaby? Nintendo Directs are not always bad, and they are going to stay. Deal with it. Alright guys, that's all I have to say on this subject. I want to hear from all of you. Do you like the Nintendo Directs? Or is there something about them that isn't your cup of tea? Make sure to rate this video as well as leaving your positive and negative feedback down in the comments. Also, be sure to hit that subscribe button underneath that video, as more support from you guys mean that more content is coming from me in the future that you won't find anywhere else. Until next time, this is Double RPG signing off by saying Godspeed and game on, gamers. Have a good one.